Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm still just drinking my morning coffee. And I had a few questions, and some of them have been serious questions, and some of them, of course, typical trolls just offering their criticism regarding the adjustments I've made right now in my orc mode training. That's what we're calling it. Bit of a joke there. If you guys who watch it know why I changed it to that. All in good fun. But why am I making some of the changes I'm making to my squat and my deadlift, and what is the actual plan with that? What is the logic behind what I'm doing? Now, before people say, oh, you're tremendously changing your training, no, not really. I'm doing singles every day still, heavy singles, a peak set with a squat and a deadlift every day still. This is still Bulgarian light. This still perfectly falls in line with even stuff like that Perryman would put out, or Greg Knuckles would put out in his Bulgarian manual, things like that. Other than the way I'm doing my deadlifts, which is a little bit different of a beast. Because I have experience with high frequency deadlifting, and I know of other lifters who've built tremendous deadlifts doing deadlifts 5 and 6 days a week. It can be done if you're careful with it. So what's going on? Why have I switched over to a beltless squat completely and reduced the weight back down? Let's go back to pretty much what I did with this. If you guys recall, when I started filming like 3 months ago on camera, I had just gotten to where I was doing 435 is my daily minimum. That's what I was working with every day. What people need to remember, I started with 405. I took over 2 years off from squatting. If you guys recall, back in the UK, I did a high bar squat, the heaviest you guys saw me hit while doing Bulgarian style training, squatting every day. You guys saw me get up to 508 on a high bar squat, right? Now, I also had junk home plates, so it might not have even been 508. It could have been 495 with those cheap plates. I don't know because I never weighed them. But that's, if I go by the weights as they were supposed to be, the weights I purchased should have been 508, and it might have even been slightly more. I'm willing to bet those pounds, those plates were all a pound light if I ballparked it. So it could have been under 500. It could have been in the 490s, and I accept that. Besides the point. What happened there? I did high bar, and that's what I got to. When I got back to the U.S., I basically quit squatting. You guys saw me do a pause triple with 405, beltless. When I got back here, so I was able to start training again, but I was also, a lot of people don't realize, when they saw that, they were thinking I was really heavy body weight. I was under 200 pounds. I lost a ton of weight during the stress of my international move, all that stuff. A lot of stuff in my personal life. I lost a lot of weight. I was at like 195 at that time. So people forget that, they're like, we've never seen you under a certain body. Yeah, you have, guys. When I came back to Texas, all those early videos, I was under 200 pounds. So just for reference. So I did that, and then I quit squatting. A lot of explanations behind it, not going to get into all that. I quit squatting for over 2 years. I came back, started squatting again. I built back up to a 405 with a low bar. And what did I do? I went from doing 405 with a belt and low bar as my daily minimum, while doing only singles, nothing but one rep. I took it all the way to 485. So over the course of about 3 months, I went from that up to 485. And you guys remember, I had a whole week where I did 485 6 days in a row, right? I did it 6 times in 1 week. That was my training weight. Then my bicep started irritating me again. Some of you guys know the history. I have an old bicep injury. I've lost tissue there. We have it confirmed on the DEXA scan. If you guys recall, the DEXA scan shows that I have 1.5 pounds less lean mass in my left arm than my right. That's a lot. You can look at what a pound of meat looks like at the grocery store. That's how much less meat I have in there. And I have scar tissue and stuff in there, and I get inflammation in the tendons. It was becoming excruciatingly painful to low bar squat. At that point, and I'd switched to high bar, and I basically had to drop down to about 475 for a training number. I couldn't handle the 485. One, I hadn't been training high bar. Number two, high bar, we could argue, is a slightly different biomechanical position. Some people will argue that you can train it more frequently, and it works really well in high frequency training. So again, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. We could argue about that all day long. I had to reduce the load slightly, and then I knew I needed back off work, because at that point, I think I stalled what I was going to be able to reasonably add to my squat doing just singles, unless I wanted to grind out for a year to get 10 more pounds. It's just simply not enough training volume to get a response. Now, doesn't mean that I was going to quit doing this style of training. It just means that you have to add back off work. And that's the traditional way this is done, by the way, to bypass stalls in this sort of training. And some people go ahead and do the back off work year round. All right, this is the way people do it, and it works. And it works for obvious reasons of the added training volume. So I did that, then I started adding more deadlifting in, and it became too much for me to handle. I started really struggling with lower body recovery because of the added back off work, the added deadlifting, and that's fine. I've stepped back and assessed it because we saw muscle weaknesses coming out that weren't being fixed, struggling under the training load, and I realized I needed a novel training response. I went back to beltless training. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going back to beltless training, and it wasn't that long ago. It was this year that 435 was my belted low bar daily minimum. That's what I was working with every day when I first started filming this about 3 months ago. So I haven't lost progress because my 435 without a belt is actually moving a little faster and feels a little lighter than it did with the belt and low bar when I was doing that. So what I've done to allow myself to progress again and acclimate to the new training volume, I'm going back to beltless for a while because I think I need that beltless training because I noticed my form cleaned up a lot. My technique is a lot better when I took the belt off, and I'm bracing my core better. I feel like I need to develop my core strength better there as far as that goes. I need to learn to get tighter again at the bottom with the high bar so that I can maintain a slightly better upright position. And keep hammering my quads and train the movement pattern. And then I'm doing the back off work afterwards. If people notice, I do 2 triples beltless pause squats afterwards each day. So to acclimate to the added volume without reaching that chronic overreaching state that's going to end up causing my training to mess up, you can build work capacity. And that's what I'm doing. I'm now building work capacity. I'm going to pull it back down to 435 without a belt and doing high bar. And I'm going to start adding every week again. We're going to ramp it back up the same way we did doing singles only with the belt. I'm going to now do beltless, but I'm going to do it with the back off work. And it will give me a little more time to adapt to the back off work, to get some hypertrophy to the back off work without completely hammering myself into the ground. So that I can go back, we get the new training response with a slightly different variation, and then we build it up with the added back off work to give me more hypertrophy, more quad development, more quad strength, and do the same thing, guys. I'm nowhere near not on track for the year, not even close to being off track, because the goal was to be at 500 as a training number this year. Got 4.5 months, so just keep adding to the beltless, and we'll see where it takes us. What am I doing with the deadlifts? People are like, man, it seems like you're doing something different every other day. You're rotating. Yeah, I am rotating. You guys got to remember, I don't want to tear a bicep again. I've previously torn a bicep, and we saw on my DEXA scan that I have a muscle imbalance left to right. Now, some people will say, is that purely from the mixed grip? No, it's not just the mixed grip. It's twofold in nature. Number one, all of my rowing, all of my chins, all that stuff, because I have less muscle in my left bicep, people say, can't you just do curl? I tried that, by the way, for 6 months. I did just curls with my left arm and no isolation work for the right to see if it would catch up. My left bicep stayed smaller than my right. Well, I have lost actual tissue. I actually had a chunk of muscle removed from my left bicep. And my left bicep is actually sometimes stronger than my right. If I take curls, because I trained it a bunch early on just by itself, my left bicep actually is just as strong as my right. But I guess what's happening, it seems like it is, but I guess what's happening because of the less muscle mass on all those exercises, my body compensates a little bit. So the left side works a little harder to pull the weight because the bicep can't contribute quite as much because it's a hair weaker. So that's forced me to build a little more muscle on the left side of my back. Combined with me only doing mixed grip on deadlift, and that whole time I quit squatting, I kept deadlifting, right? And for years I've been deadlifting again with a mixed grip, always with the previously torn bicep overhand and then the underhand on the right. That's also apparently caused this side to allow more muscle activation on the deadlift. So it's created a muscle imbalance left to right in my torso, and it's probably my lower back, my core, my lats, my trap, everything. I have like 5 pounds more lean mass on my left side of my torso than my right, according to the DEXA. So it's multifold. It's both on all my pulling exercises it's caused an imbalance, not just the mixed grip. That's contributing, but it's in general. So I realized I need to go away from the mixed grip. So I'm training all 3 other things. The hook grip is my goal, but I'm only hooking 505 right now, right? Because that's all my thumbs can handle, and I've already torn my thumb once. So I'm alternating between tape and no tape, taking care of the skin on my thumb. So 3 times a week I pull with a hook grip. And then 3 times a week, so that I can actually deadlift a little heavier, I use straps, because I don't have the option of mixed grip. I don't want to risk the muscle imbalances. I don't want to risk another tear. If I want to deadlift heavy while I'm building up my thumbs, I have to do something. So I either have to mix grip, which is a risk, or I've got to use straps. So 3 times a week I pull with straps. And then what I'm doing on top of it to make sure that my grip is getting trained, every day I do a couple of back off reps, double overhand, and I'm trying to PR my double overhand. So all 6 days I do double overhand deadlifting afterwards. And like right now I'm up to do where I'm doing 425 double overhand, right? Doing 425 double overhand, which is okay. It's not phenomenal, but it's okay, and I'm going to build that up. I want to build that up to where I can double overhand grip 500 pounds. Then I know I've got some decent grip strength to work with, right? There'll be some decent grip strength to work with. Keep working the hook grip, and on days where my thumbs can't handle the hook grip, which is about every other day, I deadlift with straps. And then I do back off work, double overhand without the straps. So that's pretty much what I'm doing with my stuff. So I'm getting a lot more variation in the deadlift, but the squat I'm getting some variation too, because I'm doing now beltless regular high bar, and then I do beltless pause squats for my back off volume work. So that's pretty much what's going on with it. That's the method to my madness. That's why I'm doing it. I'm just planning on keep moving forward with them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.